Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, with our main topic today. Well, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli have recently met in Paris with more than 90 members of several companies in France, and he discussed Egypt's moving towards strongly the sustainable transportation projects such as the monorail or the rapid transit project or the rapid electric train. Also, he stressed that Egypt is keen on the clean transportation. To shed more light on this, we have the pleasure to host this morning in the breakfast show our dear guest, Dr. Hafez Salmawy, Professor of Energy Engineering at Zagazig University. Good morning, Dr. Salmawy.
Good morning.
Dr. Salmawy, now we'd like to shed light on the meeting that took place between Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and the 90 members of French companies concerning this topic.
Actually, France is one of the long-term partners in transportation. All of us remember that Cairo Metro was developed in cooperation with France. Currently, some French companies are working in developing the harbor in Alexandria and adding its capacity, and it's a very much important project because this is a kind of interface between Egypt and the rest of the world, and it will facilitate flow of goods and services either for export or import. Also, France played an important role in the railways sector. Many French companies provided equipment, rolling stock as trains and cars, and also they supported development of the sector regarding control, traffic, and many things. So the French companies are very much involved with the transportation sector here in Egypt, long and in future also.
Yes. So, Dr. Salmawy, what is the importance of the concept of using the sustainable transport, and what is its impact on using this type of transportation in order to reduce carbon?
Actually, sustainable transportation is a concept which belongs generally to the concept of sustainability. Sustainability is for sure part of it. It's very much important to reduce the environmental impact of many sectors on our globe. Transportation sector represent around 16% of the total gas emission around the world come from the transportation sector. So improving and greening the sector through fuel switching from the current used fuel like liquid fuels, which emit a lot of greenhouse gases, to more cleaner fuel like switching to electricity, which could be generated from renewable energy, or use other types of fuel like hydrogen, like biofuels, e-fuels. All of this will help. But sustainability doesn't being limited just for greening the sector. Sustainability, it means to have a sector which is efficient, comfort, safe, and inclusive, which means that nobody will be left behind. People with disability could access transportation quite easily. Remote area could be accessed by transportation. Also, sustainable transportation means affordable transportation.
Yes.
So all of these represents the sustainability concept. Yes, environment and reduction of fuel consumption and improve efficiency is a very important dimension, but other dimensions are very much important.
Yes. So, Dr. Salmawy, what the advantages of the clean transport, does it meet Egypt's plan for the year 2030?
Egypt, like many other parts of the world, yes, are working in order to reduce the impact of many sectors on the environment. Next week, we're going to have COP26 in Glasgow, and part of the main focus, plans of countries, how they could reduce their emissions. Switching to renewable energy, energy efficiency are the two main pillars, but as you green transport and switch transport to electricity and e-fuel, which is rely on renewable energy resources, this will help too. As I mentioned, that transport sector represents 16% and maybe in some country higher. We might close to 20% here in Egypt for share of greenhouse gas emission coming from the transport sector. So this is very much important plan or part of our plan. Several studies and several strategies has been set in order to achieve a reasonable goal and cope with the requirements of Paris Agreement, which is requesting to reduce the temperature increase by the end of this century to just 2 degrees higher than the temperature before the industrial age. And the more ambitious target is to 1.5 degrees.
Yes, yes. Sir. So a number of national projects are now taking place under the leadership and directives of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. So let's start concerning the transportation separately, the monorail, then the bus rapid transit. Let's start, for example, with the monorail.
Actually, the main idea of the new transportation project is connectivity. We need to connect different parts of the country.
The cities or the governorates.
Yes, and we need all transportation means being interconnected and work jointly together. We have Cairo Metro, which covering all Cairo, downtown Cairo and metropolitan.
The metro, you mean the underground?
Underground metro.
Yes.
But for example, east and west of Cairo is not highly connected by kind of a rapid interconnection. So the monorail, which is going to be extended from 6th of October to Giza, it will work jointly with the underground, as well as the other line for the monorail, which extend from Cairo, New Cairo, to the new administrative capital is another connection. So you have 2 lines which is being connected, working with the network. In addition to the new rapid train which interconnect Salam City at east of Cairo to 10th of Ramadan, and from the 10th of Ramadan to the administrative capital is very much important. This will facilitate very much the mobility of people. People who work in the administrative capital can move. People who work in industrial zones in 6th of October could
also
be
Also the electric train
forward.
is going to connect, for example, Al Ain al-Sukhna with the Al Alamein city, for example.
This is a wider dimension.
Yes.
Now we talk about Cairo and its metropolitan area. But if you talk about Egypt as a whole, we have the new line which is extend for Al Ain al-Sukhna, administrative capital, Cairo, and up to Al Alamein. And then there is another rapid train which extend from Giza down to Aswan.
Yes, it's going to be 1,000 kilometers.
Long. But the more expanded plan is to connect Al Alamein with Marsa Matruh, connect Cairo with Hurghada, connect Hurghada with Safaga and Bernice, connect Luxor with Hurghada. So it creates a kind of a network which interconnect all the country together with fast, rapid trains. Train has advantage, or rail transport in general has advantage. It's very energy efficient. It's consume 1/10 of the energy compared to the road transport. Also is very much important, not just for people, transportation of people, but also transportation of goods and services. So trains is very much important, and maybe one of our challenges here in Egypt that the share of road transport is much higher compared to the share of the rail transport, maybe because the rail sector has not developed for some time, but as this fast rapid train come into service, I think this is will bring back the equation into its right dimension.
Yes. So, Dr. Salmawy, how would, for example, the monorail help or make a kind of coordination? Because it's the monorail, as we can all see now, it's under way. It's going parallel to the main roads and accesses. You know, it's not just taking its way through deserts or something.
Yes.
It's going parallel with the main roads. So how do you see this?
Usually, infrastructure project has a problem with what we call it right-of-way. You need to have an access right to a certain route or path.
Yes.
Sometimes this route or path is being obstructed by services, by private ownerships, which is make it sometimes hard and stop many projects. Already, if you have a road going through, you already have right-of-way which already has been established. So this is facilitate and accelerate very much doing the project so as you guarantee the right-of-way. Also, interchangeability between road transport and rapid transport is very much important. So
yes.
Road should be accessible to the rapid transit. Rapid transit also could help people who are using the road in reducing the pressure on that road. For example, if you talk about a bus line, it could transport 6,000 persons per hour. But if you talk about Salmawy, it could transfer 20,000 per hour. If you talk about monorail, you can transport 60,000 per hour. If you talk of underground metro, you talk about maybe 80,000 per hour. So it will reduce very much pressure on the road for people who are using this path every day. So having joint by joint path helps sometimes very much, but the main challenge was right-of-way.
Yes. Dr. Salmawy, how can we benefit from the artificial intelligence in the field of transportation?
Actually, artificial intelligence, or what we call it smart. Actually, smart now being applied in every application. Smart transportation, it means that we're going to have smart traffic system. For example, Google Map is a smart approach for our, artificial intelligence sports, which is help in finding way and defining distances. Self-driving cars is very much important. Enabling additional services through schedule, planning, monitoring, operation of the fleets is very much important. When we talk about electric cars, we call smart charging approaches, where you might have change in the price of electricity with time. So the car being smart enough, so it's charged when the price is low and stop charging when the price is high. Smart grid for electricity grid is very much important to interact with electric cars, because maybe many people are charging at the same time, which could create a kind of congestion. How you could balance the grid under this condition, you need a smart. So all this kind of smart application very much rely on artificial intelligence, and very much, I think, the next trend for all services. Part of it is utility services like electricity, like transportation, water services are very much relying on smart services and artificial intelligence.
Yes, yes. Dr. Salmawy, can we say that the monorail or the rapid bus, electric bus, or the rapid electric train are national products that are supporting, and also the electric cars, the private cars, of course, are these national products supporting the Egyptian economy?
Sure. Actually, to develop the economy, you need to make the economy more efficient.
Yes.
You need to ease mobility, transfer of people and goods everywhere. So if you have a fast, effective, efficient, affordable transport facilities, it will help very much to reliable. Also, it helps very much in developing the economy. Also, our transport sector, as it is today, is a very energy intensive sector. It's rely very much on road transport, as I mentioned, car transport, as I mentioned, but shifting to public transportation facilities, high efficient, high speed, will help very much in improve efficiency and consumption of resources. Sure, reducing emission for this sector is very much important. You say externalities, which we call it impact on pollution, on climate change, acute climate events, health problems, which is very much, Cairo is a very highly polluted city because we have very congested transportation. So reducing and improving lifestyle in the country is very much help in developing the economy.
Yes. Dr. Salmawy, how do you see the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's keenness to boost the field of transportation industry in Egypt?
Actually, there is several presidential initiatives. All of us remember the presidential initiative for switching to natural gas for cars and taxi. Presidential initiative for switching to electric cars. And we have now one of our local companies going to produce electric cars starting next year, which will help very much in penetrating electric cars in our market. Presidential initiative regarding fast trains. It's a large project which was talked about between El Ain al-Sukhna. Is the general plan starting with the first phase for El Ain al-Sukhna and Al-Alamein. Actually, this interconnection is basically parallel to Suez Canal, Summit Line. So it's improved capacity of Egypt, not just to improve its economy, but also as a hub for transportation for the whole region and the world services. So this improves Egypt's attractiveness for attracting more investment to the country. So this is another initiative supported by the President. The highway initiative for many highway, which is high quality highway, which improve very much transportation over this highway and safety and comfort also, and reduce time of travel. So this is a very important initiative. All of us know that there is over 7,000 kilometers of new highway has been constructed over the last period. All of these are integrate together and make a kind of what we call it a paradigm shift toward much smarter and sustainable transportation sector in Egypt.
Yes. Dr. Salmawy, concerning the electric cars, so this project started 5 years ago, isn't it? Around, we learned about it 5 years ago.
Yes, the technology itself, electric car is around for many years before.
Where did this project reach till now?
No, there is no specific project, but there is an initiative for electric cars. For example, we have our Nasr company, which is an old company, which is almost went into bankruptcy sometimes. When it came back to the market, it came with introducing a new product, which is electric car, which is fit exactly with the trend internationally to shift the private car and taxi and public transportation to electric kind of traction. For example, we have in the university, we developed a model for how the market for the private car and taxi will be looked by 2030. We realized that if we applied the current policies, which include some incentives like exemption from customs duty for electric cars, reduction in the licensing fees for the car, we might reach around 15% of the total car by 2030 become electric cars for private, and around 30 to 35% of the taxis will be electric car. But if we followed a proactive policies, more incentives is being offered, we might reach 31%. Around 2 million cars will be running in Egypt as a whole, electric car. How we could be proactive? We could be proactive through increasing local manufacturing for this car, so it helps in reducing prices, enabling financial instruments or financial support for people to acquire a new car, maybe restricting access to some area in the cities except for electric cars, so it's an incentive for people to go for electric car. Maybe setting a limit for use of old car in licensing. You don't allow more than 20 or 25 years for a car to run. This is another incentive for people to switch to electric cars. Many other incentives could also be offered for accelerating this.
Yes. Dr. Salmawy, how can we benefit as Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli met with representatives of 90 French companies recently? So how can we benefit from the French model concerning the transition to sustainable transport?
France is an advanced country in transport. Actually, all the railways in France is electrified. It's almost like the model in most of Europe. France has very strong metro network. France is an advanced country in many aspects relevant in planning, in control of transport. So, and as I mentioned, this is a long-term relation which is going on with either French government or French companies or French institution like AFD, which is French Development Agency, which provides support to Egypt in many aspects. Also parallel, developing renewable energy sector is also very much important, and clean fuels, which is also France is advanced in that, will help very much in advancing or greening the transportation sector. So discussion and presenting this current status and alleviate any challenges for ongoing contracts or projects. It helped very much in advancing and attracting more companies to come and invest and work in Egypt.
Yes. I thank you very much for your valuable information and for explaining this in this field of transforming in Egypt to the green or the clean energy in Egypt in light of the great national projects taking place in the field of transportation. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. We were in an interview with Dr. Hafez Salmawy, Professor of Energy Engineering at Zagazig University. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for following me in this segment.